Do you know who pulled off the most influential branding campaign in all of world history? It was St. Patrick. He used the Irish clover, the shamrock, and its 3 leaves to teach an entire island about the Holy Trinity. World-class association. Branding so amazing, people are hypnotized by its power. Kind of like if we said, we, as a people, will make no established religion. But then we put God's name on the thing everyone has to use. Cash. You know, God. He was well known for how much cash he always had on him. We always loved those dollar bills. Love that story where God makes it rain on the world to a flood. Oh, that was real water. The next most influential branding campaign in all of world history is actually a tie. It's tied between convincing humans there's consistency in t-shirt sizing. There isn't. A Hollister large is a Walmart small. Clothes sizing is anarchy. Pure mayhem. There's no consistency. You've all been duped. It's tied between that and then the people who have the most control in this world, blaming societal issues and the world's problems on the people who have the least control in the world. Now let's take a close look at this national news report done by the lamestream media and see if we can read in between the lines on their subtle hints on which class, who's to blame for what's going on in the country right now.
In economics, inflation is defined as, quote, persistent substantial rise of prices related to an increase in the volume of money and resulting in the loss of value of currency. In other words, your Snickers bar costs an extra 25 cents. So what's driving the rise of prices?
Hey, Tannerson, it doesn't look like the price of tanning has gone up much.
Our Brooke Silva Braga gets a crash course.
You're not gonna laugh at that?
Jacob Goldstein is a financial journalist.
Wait a minute. He's only a journalist. Okay.
Known for explaining complicated economic concepts to non-economists.
Oh, he tells dum-dums like me and you about ka-ching problems. Me understand. Jesus. Guy talks down to us anymore, I'm gonna hear an echo.
It's journalists in cars getting expensive stuff.
Oh, no you don't, guy on the scene. This isn't your stand-up special. You're here to inform non-economy people like myself about the, money society? I don't know what that thing's called. I'm not an economy person, so stay in your lane.
Gas is incredibly expensive. It's extraordinary.
It's expensive because of the war in Ukraine.
Largely, right? Yeah.
Did this financial guru journalist just answer that question with a question? Largely, right? Yeah?
Largely, right? Yeah.
The price of oil, the price of gas, is an input into almost everything, right? You make something in China, you gotta get it to the US, you gotta buy fuel. In a really simple way, when the price of gas goes up, it pushes up the price of everything else.
Oh, so simply inflation just reflects the extra gas price. I might need a second opinion in this video.
But groceries are another one.
Yeah, huge. And obviously really important, right? Like not something people can not buy.
This guy is dropping economic gems. First I learn gas costs more. Then I learn I can't live without buying food. I might become an economist by the end of this newscast. Straight fire!
But of all the supply issues contributing to inflation, none are as important to economists as the supply of workers. Right now, for every American looking for a job, there are 2 job openings.
And every American needs 2 jobs just to survive, so things are working out.
So unemployment is at this historic low now, right? And sort of weirdly, that's a big part of the reason inflation is so high.
Sort of weirdly, that's why inflation's so high. Straight fire.
It can be hard to grasp at first.
This may be just too complex for some. Hard to grasp. But that's why we're here, telling you the narrative. Dropping knowledge on who to blame for this. Why this is happening.
It can be hard to grasp at first.
But low unemployment is both good for individuals and sometimes problematic for the economy.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say they don't consider workers, individuals, part of the economy.
Because it means employers have to outbid each other for the few available workers.
This newscast is taking a weird turn. Can we get a second opinion?
And by the way, only happens when you raise people's wages. When you pump the money at the high end, at the asset end of like real estate and bonuses, everybody's fine. The minute you give somebody fucking a couple of bucks extra an hour, everybody's like, milk is $1,000 a gallon.
And what shops like this, what lots of businesses have to do is raise wages, right? And the way they can afford to raise wages is by passing the cost on to you, by raising the prices. And so that's what's happening across the economy right now.
But the truth is prices are set by firms, right? Companies decide the price that they want to charge for goods. What we have been seeing that was starting to disturb us is reporting not just of an increase in profits, but what we're seeing is an increase in profit margins. So there's a story about how they had to charge you more because the lemons cost more.
That's right.
Okay, fine. Like they pass on the cost of the lemon. That should not drive up profit margins. Profit margins are driven up when they pass on the cost of the lemon and then tack on like a little something extra for the effort.
Unemployment was low before the pandemic too, but what's different now...
But what is different now? If you're saying unemployment was low before the pandemic, but now it's causing inflation, I wonder if there's anything we're missing. Maybe there's something we're just not talking about. I don't know.
Look, the problem is the economy overheated.
It overheated in part because the government didn't just inject money into the economy at the start of the pandemic, but again last year.
There'll be $1,400 checks.
I knew they were going to bring up the $1,400. The working class is going to kill me for spilling the beans on this, and this is probably going to earn me a visit from the ghost of Noam Chomsky and Fred Hampton tonight. But I'll let you in on our secret. We've been saving that $1,400 for 3 years now, and collectively we were all planning to retire at the exact same time just to stick it to the man. Can't believe I shared that. George Soros is going to be so mad at me.
Some of what we're seeing is this just sort of rank profiteering.
Like if you were to call them on that, what would they say?
Well, we don't have to call them. They've already told us. So my organization, we looked at hundreds of earnings call transcripts. So earnings calls are just the calls that CEOs and CFOs have with shareholders when they release their quarterly earnings report, as they do on a regular basis and file those with the SEC. By the way, they have to tell the truth on earnings calls by law. This isn't just, embellishment or bragging. This is them telling us what's actually happening. And what we see time over time, I mean, we're not cherry picking this. It's a target-rich environment. The CEOs are really just bragging and crowing about the pricing that they've been able to pull off.
In retrospect, the government should not have put so much money into the economy.
This article that the news used as their B-roll footage was an interesting choice. I just don't know why they didn't use any of the articles that I found about money flooding into the economy. Any of these articles. Any of these. Really. Interesting choices.
At the time, one of the few people who warned that stimulus brought inflation risks was former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers.
So I just used economics and said when you have too much demand and not enough supply, you tend to get inflation.
Just that simple. Using the old economics. This guy looks like an interesting character. I wonder what his business interests are. Oh, okay. Now we know what is in his best interests list.
To contain inflation, he said we'll need an unemployment rate above 5% for several years, an outcome that would mean millions of Americans out of work.
I don't think the solution to this problem is to make a bunch of people poorer to solve our, inflation problem.
It's not too late to bring the situation under control, but we're going to have to accept some real pain and dislocation.
Who's he talking about when he says we? I get a wild hunch that he's not including himself in that group. Wonder why old economy Larry knows so much about economics. Wonder if there's anything else we can find out about him. Oh, so he helped crash an entire economic system? Yeah, I think that would qualify you.
I think it's a mistake to assume.
Guys, I just did some more digging. I don't know if we should be trusting Economy Larry here. Look at what's on his Wikipedia page. It gets worse. Shouldn't trust him. Why is he on the news?
I have not heard one person talking about the excessive profit margins on like network news. Not one has said, or, one thing we could do is maybe not jack prices so high.
I might become an economist. I might become an economist after this.